Hey,
Hey, it's looking good. Look at that.
I'm putting in work this weekend.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. Oh man. Let me adjust this really quick.
Yep.
All right.
While you're adjusting that,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some stuff up on the screen here real quick, just to walk through a couple things to talk about real quick. But
yeah, you know what? Let me send you some of that some of those links as well.
Mhm.
Let me see.
So just for those who don't know out there, anybody out there in the world watching, there are a bunch of resources out there. We always point to VA.gov because VA.gov is kind of like the go-to place to find a lot of things that you're looking for if you're putting in a VA claim, if you're looking for VA resources or veteran resources. And they do have an email that you can sign up for. It's about a weekly email. And basically, this is what it encompasses. And I'm just going to hit a few of the points on here. But they put out information pretty much every week, job postings, things like that. So the first one we want to touch on is the free business classes for veterans. The sign up date is tomorrow. So if you want to get on there and get into that, just go to VA.gov, look for free business class veterans, and you'll be able to find that. And it's put on through Warrior Rising is the organization who's putting it on. It's online classes. If you're thinking about the entrepreneur track of once you get out of the military, if you don't want to go back to a job.
That's that's good information too, because I know on like the TRS, when you take that transition readiness seminar, they touch a little bit on the entrepreneur track, but it's like a couple hours long. I mean, you can ask some questions, but then they refer you over to some website. So this is excellent. Actually, that you throw this out there, get some in-depth information that just doesn't last 2 or 3 hours, right? And you most likely be able to answer questions on here as well. You said it was Warrior Rising. I'm going to write this down too. Warrior Rising.
Yeah, Warrior Rising is putting the classes on. The sign-up date ends tomorrow. So if you get online, do some Googling, or if you need the link, just shoot us a message and we can send you the link directly if you'd like. Actually, let me see if I can just grab it real quick. It's a pretty long link, but if you just go to news.va.gov, you'll be able to find everything that you're looking for. And I'll go ahead and throw that down here in the bottom. News.va.gov. So that's the main site. And if you go on there and search around, you can find what you're looking for. But this is the Warrior Rising Veterans Business Startup classes for free. Basically, it's online classes. And tomorrow is the deadline for signing up. So if you want to get on that, just go ahead and jump on that.
Heck yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I was also going to throw out there. I know you're mentioning a couple areas, couple things that we can do to expand our knowledge on, different certifications and things like that. I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday on Coursera. If you want to throw up like Coursera.org up there as well on your screen sharing, just kind of give people the lay of the land of what the website looks like. If you go through different organizations, like I think it's what's the one USO has it. I think USAA also has some kind of partnership with them. There's one that I go through here in Southern California, a veterans organization that I work with, that I work through, and they actually pay for the certifications. And the name is just escaping me right now, but it'll come to me. But basically, if you connect through like USO and connect through them to access Coursera.org, they will actually pay for the certifications for like Google Project Management, or there's like IBM Management, things like that. There's a ton of different courses and certifications. Now you can see that Coursera has a huge library of certifications on their site, but a lot of these organizations like USO and the ones that actually sponsor the certifications, they only limit you to the ones for transitioning veterans or active duty military, and they usually have to do with like technology, CompTIA, or business certifications. So definitely check that out. It's a free resource. I use it all the time when I have some free time at work. There's some downtime, some white space. I'm on Coursera, knocking out my Google project management, something to put on the resume, and that's probably the biggest thing, right? You want to put as much on your resume as possible to kind of show folks as you transition out that you are ready to start working. The more, the better, I think.
Absolutely. And then let me just move on to a couple other things that I wanted to point out. So as I said, this is the actual email that they send you. They list things like job fairs and different community events that are happening around the country and sometimes overseas as well. But I did want to tap on the SC shop if you want to go there. It's not my thing, but if that's your thing and you're looking for some discounts on Under Armour and things like that, you can find them there. And this one is the one that I really wanted to tap on, the Speak with a Veteran access for 24/7 mental health care support. That's the veterancrisisline.net if you need to get in touch with the VA or if you need some quick access to mental health professionals. You can also call 988 and press 1, and you can get direct access 24/7 to people. So if you're struggling with things, if you're going through things, and you need someone to reach out to, this is always available to you. They always put it in the newsletter, and it's very important why they do that. So I wanted to tap on that one real quick.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good resources. Want to give a shout out to Brandon Alborg. He's what's going on, man? Hopefully you're getting some good information from the stuff we're pushing out here. And up next, FU Money. I like the screen name, man. That's pretty good. Doing the military was easy, even with 10 years of deployments or 10 deployments. It's getting out that terrifies me. So yeah, it is. It's not easy. It terrified the heck out of me too, as I was transitioning out. There was a period of, I'd say, like loneliness and not knowing where the heck to turn. Biggest thing I did was tap into the folks that actually made the transition already. And, the network, tap into your network. There's a ton of folks out there who have already done this. One thing I didn't do that they told me that I heard from a lot of folks not to do was you don't really want to go to like your chain of command because they're still active. They have not yet transitioned or done the retirement or the separation yet. So tap into the folks that have already done it. And that's a big reason why John and I have started this, doing this, because, there's so many questions out there. I've encountered so many questions myself and I just didn't know where to turn to. And then, I found John, we started asking questions and, we kind of hit it off and then decided to come together and spread the good word here. As far as going into the corporate matrix, there are a few resources that we can guide you to. We recently talked to a lot of folks from Hire Heroes USA. They take care of resumes for, all I went through that specifically for my resume, my civilian resume. And all they asked for me was 12 years of my fitness reports, my evaluations. I sent them 12 years of those. They came back with a full-on resume. Of course, I had to tweak a couple things to make it personalized to myself. But the majority of the information is there. And I've been using that every time I send out a resume. I've been using that format. And while I was on active or when I was on terminal leave, I actually secured a position with a contracting company, a defense contractor. And, was lucky enough that, they were looking for somebody. The timing just paired up. And I established that through my network as well. So that is huge. That is huge because then they'll give you the signs. They'll give you the signals. Hey, look, we're looking for somebody who can do this. Are you able and willing to do this? I said yes right off the bat, and I'm still enjoying it to this day. It's a Navy job, which I don't mind. Coming from the Marine Corps to the Navy, I still have that familiarity of, being around uniformed folks. So it's not a full-on civilian position, but it is definitely what worked for me. Hire Heroes USA, have them type up a resume for you, and just go from there. I mean, the more you send it out, the better. And then send that out to one of us even, or other folks in your network to kind of get some feedback on that resume, because you don't want to go in alone and afraid and not knowing what the heck other people are seeing. You want to get some feedback, constructive criticism on all that stuff too. John, if you got any tips for FU money here. I think you're muted, John.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, there you go.
I just wanted to tap on his follow-on statement that he put down there in the chat, and coming from an Intel background and trying to get that resume. And we've talked about that on the show as well a few times with a few different guests about translating the military jargon and speak into civilian jargon and speak, and basically making your resume, taking your resume from the military, whether that's your reviews that you get annually and the things that you did and all these different accolades that you have, and translating them into civilian words and phrases so that they make sense on the corporate side, depending on if you're going into just the open job market out on the public, or if you're going into the GS side, or if you're going to become a contractor. It depends on which way you want to go. And and we've got Brandon queued up if you're freaking out, like who's jumping on the thing. We'll get Brandon on here in a second.
I was wondering what was going on there.
Brandon's one of the former guests on the show, so I invited him up if he wanted to say some stuff, and we'll bring him on in just a second. But yeah, just to get back to you, FU money, you really just need to actually just reach, what you can do is literally just reach out to Hire Heroes USA. If you haven't seen the podcast, there's a couple episodes that we did with a couple of folks from Hire Heroes USA. You can reach out to them right now as you're still on active duty and start that process of getting your resume to them, get them to review it. If you want to create a resume for USA Jobs, they can do that. That takes a few more weeks. It's a little bit longer process for that, but the regular resume, you can start getting that information to them right now and get that. And Intel, really, at least in my opinion and my observation and my experience, Intel leads directly into the cyber world. As you've seen, the Intel folks get reclassed to cyber. A lot of them get reclassed as cyber MOSs. And so you may or may not want to go down that path, but yeah, happy to answer any more questions you got. Just keep them coming. And with that, we will bring on Brandon Alborg. Just to give him a quick introduction, Brandon was a guest on the show. I forget what episode it was, but he came on and we talked about a whole bunch of things about medical transition out of the military. And then shortly after that, he got hired with CSX, which is a railroad company in South Carolina. So he's been doing hopefully good since then. And I'll go ahead and pop him up whenever you're ready. So.
Yeah. Howdy.
Hey, brother. How's it going?
What's going on? It's going great. Thanks for having me on, gentlemen. So yeah, like John was saying, I did 16 years in the United States Army, active duty. I was field artillery. I was airborne. So not a whole lot of correlation between what I did in the military and real world application. Obviously, there's very, very, very little crossover for field artillery and civilian sector, unless you're doing a DA job working on cannons and stuff, or you're one of the guys in Colorado or Alaska doing the forced avalanches and stuff like that. So not a whole lot of leeway there. But so I got out after a medical separation, and completely unplanned, completely unprepared, didn't know which way was up. And, I've told John this many times, I was scared shitless, pardon the expression. But yeah, it really, really, really solidified quick for me that I had to network. That was the key to success. That was the key to figuring things out. And fortunately, through networking and through, linking up with family and friends and legitimately listening to what everybody had an idea of, like, oh, well, you could do this or you could do that. I didn't take anything of being like, oh no, I'm too good for that, or I can't do that. Like, I'll look into it at the very, very, very least. And so my uncles two of them work up in Cincinnati for CSX. I've worked there for almost as long as I was in the military. One of them is a conductor. The other one works in mechanical department. And so my uncle, who's the conductor, he's like, hey, have you considered looking at CSX? Have you given it any thought at all? And to be perfectly frank, I had not. Was it not even remotely in my wheelhouse. But like I said, it was nothing is outside the realm of possibility, and everything's a no if you don't ask the question. You know what I mean? So I go play, sweetheart. I'm on a show here. Some military people, go away. I love you. Go away. So I looked into it, and the benefits, the pay, the job, everything seemed to transfer over, fairly easy. Like it was all, it's all on the job training basis. You do a little bit of school down in Atlanta. And so I was like, well, you know what? This is probably about the best prospect I've got so far. I'll apply. I applied. I got the job before I was hired, before I was even done with terminal leave. And then I was sent down to training in May of 22. And then I've been doing it ever since. And I just recently finished my engineer training. So I'm now dual qualified conductor, being the one in charge of the train, climbing up and down the side of cars and making couples. And I'm also qualified to drive the train itself too. So, I mean, like in 2 years, I've set myself up for a legitimate career just off of networking. So, I mean, like, if I could give one piece of advice besides networking, it's don't think that you're too good or not too good. Don't think that anything is like, how do I want to phrase this? Like outside of like your capability, or like maybe too hard for that correlation to cross over between like, oh, well, I did this in the military and this is nothing like what I've done. Nothing's going to be like what you've done in the military, unless you're going into a DA or something like that kind of job. So I mean, that's my, in a nutshell, advice is like just network and put yourself out there, take chances, and see what comes up.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short, right?
Right, 100% don't sell yourself short. 100% believe that you can do whatever the F it is that you got to do, because the simple fact that you've had to do so much outside the realm of what is normal inside the military anyway, even for a job. And I'm not trying to knock Intel. I'm not. For as low impact as an Intel job can be, and I say that respectfully, it's low impact comparatively to like your ground pounder infantry types, right? As low impact as an Intel job can be, it's still extremely rigorous. It's still very demanding. You're still out in the suck. You're still doing all of this other stuff. So you're used to hard times. You're used to having to put in that work. So transitioning over to the civilian sector, by comparison, you're not going to have to do anything that's so crazy. You're like, I can't possibly do that, because you've done crazier in the military. Guaranteed.
That's good insight, Brandon. I think the big thing too is being open to new possibilities that the civilian sector brings on, right? Like I was a somewhat senior leader when I was in the military, and at first I was thinking, I need to find that senior management job, and I that's where I had my sights set on, right?
Yeah.
And then I started applying, and then seeing that maybe I don't have all the certifications like I should have, just transitioning to the civilian sector. So that prompted me to start looking at more certifications for that. Kind of like you're starting almost entry level again, unless you have a specialized experience or a specialized trade, like an aircraft mechanic or something like that. For me, I worked in the military justice realm. I did a lot of that. I did that my entire career. And I mean, unless you're like an attorney or something, it's kind of, it's tough to get in any good paying position. But not right now. I'm working completely outside of the realm that I was doing in the Marine Corps. I'm an action officer now for a Navy command, and just generating briefs and things like that for the admiral, which is a little bit different, right? But it's I'm still within that whole Navy Marine Corps world, so it feels good. But I had to be completely open to new possibilities and the options of the more education, things like that. So I get what you mean.
It's a scary prospect, right? And like FU Money said, like he's more scared about transitioning out and going into that corporate sector, right? And like I as soon as I saw his comment, I was like, man, I can piggyback off of this at least a little bit, and anybody who's gotten out and already made that lifestyle change and that transition can attest to it's a huge deal. And especially and I'm not trying to knock anybody who's just coming to the end of their career, 20 years, and I planned this and I know what's coming. It's still hard even for somebody who's done 20 and is like, okay, this is my backstop date here, and I know it's coming and I planned for this, but it's still scary. But it's especially just an absolute cluster for anybody who's, and I'll speak to my personal experience, getting out earlier than planned. I told my sergeant major when I was going through my MEB, and I've told John this same story. Like when I first found out that I was getting MEB'd, I was like, I didn't do 16 years to not do 20. I had every intention of having that 2026 backstop that I was going to be in till this hard date right here. And this completely threw a monkey wrench in every plan I ever had and everything that I was hoping to get accomplished and do and set myself up for. And I'm not ready for it. And you're not going to be ready. Even when you think you are ready, you're not going to be ready for it because it's such a huge change. You're going from the only thing you've known for your entire, or most of your adult life, and the structure and the routine and the security of being in the military, like, hey, my paycheck is guaranteed. I know for a fact, 1st and 15th of every month, I'm going to have that paycheck in the account. Hey, I know for a fact if I'm in the military and I'm active duty, good chance, especially if you're married and kids, I have a house on base that's taken care of, and I don't have to worry about, making rent or paying utility bills or this, that, and the third, what have you. Now I'm getting out and I'm going to the civilian sector, and it's like, oh man, I got to find a house. I got to be able to afford the rent or the mortgage, insurance, gas, electric, water, trash collection, all of that stuff. And you're just like, man, and then all on top of that, I have to find my own health insurance now because I no longer have TRICARE. Oh man.
Yeah. It makes you grow up real quick, huh?
and it comes at you so fast. You wouldn't believe how fast. I mean, for those who've gotten out, obviously, but for those of you who are still in and are coming to that, that end state, whether it's your hard set date of like, okay, here's my 16 or here's my 20 years, or I'm only doing 10 and then I'm going to college, or whatever you have planned, and it works out to where your planned date to get out is when you're getting out, and it's not happening prior to that for some unbeknownst reason. It still comes at you like that before you can even say what the hell just happened. And then when it's forced upon you, whether it be some medical thing or, God forbid, even some disciplinary thing, and you're getting chaptered, and it happens. I don't like having to discuss with people's what they did or didn't do that got them potentially booted out, but it does happen, and it's still a surprise, and it's no less a surprise than it is for a medical retirement or medical separation. So I feel for those people too. And so I mean, like, it's crazy. It's ridiculous how fast it comes and how you can think that you're prepared for it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. And then it happens and you're like, I'm so deep over my head in water right now. Like I don't know which way is up, and I need to be able to breathe. and it can be overwhelming and it can be scary, but if you network with people that are still in, like you were saying, if you talk with those seniors and those leaders of yours who have a lot of insight and have a good head on their shoulders who can help you out, or you can talk to people who've already transitioned out and they're doing it now, and even your civilian family and friends, just talk and network. It'll surprise you how much more clarity you get from the whole situation.
Yeah, I think the the military is this little bubble, right? And they keep you all cushy and you have everything you need, right? You have TRICARE, you've got you got housing that you get, and then once you leave the service, it kind of hits you in the face, like you mentioned. Now you got to pay what is it, freaking bills, the water bill, you got to pay for the trash and all that good stuff, the insurance, you need to figure that out. You need to grow up really quick once you get out, and it really hits you hard mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I know it hit me hard. I mean, I just moved into a new place about 2 weeks ago, and I had to set up all this stuff. I had no idea, because I was living on base housing for like the last 8 years, from duty station to duty station. I didn't know that I had to pay my own garbage, my trash pickup. And apparently you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
I actually set my trash cans outside, and I'm like, hey, nobody freaking pick this crap up. I'm taking it to the landfill because it was overflowing. But these are the realities of getting out of the military. You now are outside of that military bubble where everything for the most part is taken care of for you. Yeah. And now you have to figure things out yourself.
So
what's up?
So just on that same topic of discussion, right, with like the networking and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
What resources did you have at your disposal as far as people to contact with and reach out to that may or may not have helped you secure the position you got now?
Okay.
Or was it more of I didn't really have people pulling me or leading me in any one direction, and I just kind of made your own path, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah. So I'll share all that stuff. So I am what you call an introverted extrovert, right? I can turn that on and off if I need to. So I was going to a lot of these job fairs that MCCS, Marine Corps Community Services, on base were putting on. So I was meeting and greeting folks from all different industries. I was doing that probably weekly. But I was also tapping into my network, for the LinkedIn folks who are big on LinkedIn. You get a year free of LinkedIn prior to getting out. For active duty military. So I tapped into that as well, expanded my LinkedIn profile, tapped into folks. I actually had a couple interviews from folks I met on LinkedIn. It wasn't the right fit, but at least I had the interviews and got my name out there. And a big thing was tapping into folks in the GS system, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not a GS myself. I would love to be a GS because I'm trying to get back into the TSP, but the GS system, they get specifically folks on human resources side of the GS system where they get first notification of any positions coming up. That's how I got my position right now. I heard about it through it was actually through a family member who sent it over my way. Hey, look, there's an opening here for this position. They're looking to fill it in like 2 weeks. You just retired, you're on terminal leave. Are you willing to do it? I threw my hat in there. I said, yeah, let's do it. I don't care. Let's try it out. And it actually, it worked out great. It's a small group. It's an office of 3 folks. And, I enjoy the work. I require a secret clearance to be in that position. But yeah, it was simply tapping into my network, just talking to folks that I know who are in the positions or similar positions to where I want to be. So that's probably the biggest thing that I always preach. Same thing you mentioned. You have to tap into your network, man, because you never know when something's going to come up.
Yeah.
Also go to like these, they have like veterans beer clubs or something. I know they have them here in California, and you basically go over there, you meet and greet, veterans and things like that. And it's like almost like a job fair, but you need to get your name out there. You need to work on your 30-second little pitch. Like, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm transitioning from the military. Here's what I do. Here's what I can offer your company if I'm that can come aboard, or if you know any positions that are open. And, you know, if you come off good, if you work on that on that pitch and you have a good personality, it'll work for you. You know, sooner or later, you're going to find something.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that too. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And if I could just jump in real quick, I wanted to kind of play devil's advocate of what we kind of started talking about as far as getting out, finding a job, what FU Money had mentioned as far as putting in the resume out there. And there's a possibility, and it depends on your personality and your financial status and what things you have set in place before you get out of the military, of course. And that's why, like a post that I popped up on LinkedIn today, and I got a decent feedback. I actually wanted to read the feedback from it, but basically just talking about, you know, you need to plan 2, 3, 4, 5 years out, but you may get out and you may realize, or you may start to find out that you're applying, and nothing's happening. It's not that you want to sit back and sit on your laurels and throw a pity party and like pop champagne bottles for yourself for being miserable, but you also got other stuff that you maybe want to do, or you want to experience, or you want to, I mean, that's how I ran into Brandon. It's like, I just went out on a strange new platform called TikTok and started looking for other veterans out there who were just putting out content, because I understand that they've got a camera, they've got a microphone, they know what they're doing when it comes to talking to a camera. So it just makes sense. But
then he found this idiot.
But yeah, you may actually get out and you may find out that you're not going to find a job. Like, you might not find a job for months and months and months. It takes a lot of work. I mean, we've had a lot of folks come on the show talking about how they've put in, you know, 50, 100, 200 resumes and not getting, myself included. Like, I put in hundreds of resumes. I did dozens of interviews and just haven't found exactly what I want yet. And it's partly me being picky and partly not getting enough resumes out there, I guess, or maybe not getting in front of, but I've been to job fairs and I've been to all these different things. So you just keep plugging at it, but don't get discouraged by it, and maybe have a backup plan of what you would do if you had all the unlimited time in the world. Maybe it's woodworking, maybe it's working on cars, maybe it's doing gardening around the house. Like, you never know, but just keep engaged with those things that you love and those things that you really enjoy, so that you just don't drive yourself crazy doing this job hunting thing and, you know, failing at it. It just takes time sometimes.
Can I add on to that real quick? Because you touched on a really good point that I kind of sort of forgot about. The discouragement factor, right? The discouragement when you got your eyes set on, your heart set on doing one thing, or maybe even one or two, okay, I could do this or this, and these are like, I really would like to do either one of these jobs, or they pay really well, or they would support the family really well, what have you, right? And you're not getting it, or you haven't heard back or anything like that, right? Discouragement is a killer when it comes to your confidence, when it comes to, your fears and your trepidations being amped up to 30. I mean, it's ridiculous just like how much even waiting 3 days for a callback or an email can just be a dagger to the heart. Like, oh my God, they don't want me. What am I going to do? So I had that same kind of mindset about like, well, what's going to happen if they say no? Because when my uncle told me about CSX, I was like, okay, all in, let's go. This is never what I planned or envisioned, but this is something that I think I could do, and this is a really good job. I'm going for it. And so I did my my application and my resume and sent it in. And I did my first over the internet, video interview thing, where it's all pre-recorded answers. Like, they prompt you the question and you get like a minute and a half to record your answer and then submit it. And then you can redo it if need be, all that kind of stuff. So I did that, and I didn't hear anything for about 3.5 weeks. And so I was freaking out like, oh man, March 13th is coming up quick. That's my hard backstop date right there. March 13th, 2022. I am a civilian from that point on. And who knows when my disability checks will start coming in. Who knows when I'm going to get my severance? I don't know. It could be next month. It could be next year, and the severance is going to help me, to, get debt and all of that stuff taken care of, and all that good things that it did. But, who knows when my disability is going to kick in, and I need a job. I have a wife and 3 kids. I have 2, at the time I had 1 dog. I have 2 dogs, and I'm, trying to be a responsible 30 some odd year old man and take care of my family. So when I got that discouragement feeling, I immediately started putting out applications to temp agencies and industries, plants and warehouses and all that stuff in the area. And I almost took a job with a place called Plastic Omnium, make bumpers and side skirts and stuff like that for BMW, the BMW plant down here in South Carolina. And so I was literally at orientation for that job because I hadn't heard anything back yet from CSX. I was like, screw it. I'll just do this in the interim. But all the while I'm sitting there like, man, I don't want this job. This is not what I see myself doing. I don't want to work in some, cut off from the the world factory, some plant for 8 to 12 hours a day with all the chemicals and lights and sounds and everything like that. And then, finally get released into the world and, say, oh my God, the light or whatever. I don't want that job. So I was at orientation and I'm in the parking lot. I'm texting my wife. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I could roll the dice and I could walk away from this and wait and see. But, and we can probably make it another 2 or 3 weeks before got to start to really wonder and concern about what's going to happen, because I've still got 3 or 4 weeks left in the Army, but that's it. And then what do I do if CSX hasn't gotten back to me yet? What do I do if I haven't got my severance or my disability payments kicked in yet? That kind of stuff. And I was like, and she's like, do you want this job? I said, no, 100% I do not, but I'm doing this because I need to do something. She's like, but we can in fact make it another 3 or 4 weeks. It'll be tight. We'll stretch it a little bit, but we can make it. If you don't want to do that and you still have your chips, have your all your chips on this, this little play right here, that's what you need to do. And we'll wait and see. And hopefully they get back to you soon. And they say, yes, we want to offer you a job or whatever. And so I was just like, I don't know. And I actually went from inside my truck, inside the plant, got inside the little orientation, little office room area with the 30 other odd people that were starting orientation for the plant that day. And I'm just like, and she's like, can we get your IDs and we'll make copies of identifications. Then we'll start the tour and get everything underway. And I'm just like, hey, yeah, you know what? I appreciate it, but I've actually got another job that I'm waiting on hearing back from. And I really just did this because I hadn't heard anything from them yet, but I honestly don't want to work here. I told her to her face and I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to waste your time. I am truly sorry, but this is not what I want to be or need to be doing. And I left.
Yeah, at least you told her up front. That's good.
Yeah. And I straight up left and I rolled the dice and I took a gamble. I gambled on myself. I gambled on my family. I gambled on our future and our outcome. And I waited, and my wife could probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think 4 or 5 days later, I got the call back. I didn't even get an email. I got a call back from the human resources, the talent acquisition specialist, as they call it, saying, we'd like to offer you a job for CSX. Can you please submit to, hair follicle and, and all of that stuff testing, because you got to do that. And then when can you get down here to Atlanta to start training? I was like, when can you get me down there? So I got hired at the end of March, but I didn't start the course until May, but I was still hired. And I was like, let's go. Let's do this. And then sure enough, the following week after I accepted the job from CSX, my severance check hit, got that big old huge severance. And then 3 weeks later, I got my first disability check. I was like, I gambled on myself and it paid off. And I didn't have to do some job that I would hate. and couldn't stand. And it worked. And I didn't allow myself to get discouraged and just say, okay, I got to pivot and go this way instead. I almost did. I almost pivoted. But I didn't allow myself to think that I wasn't going to get it because of reasons A, B, or C. And to be fair, CSX will hire just about damn near anybody. I'm not anything special by any stretch of the imagination.
But everything worked out at the end for you, it seems like.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out pretty well. I'm loving the life that I'm able to have now with this job. I'm on call. I don't work 5-6 days a week. I work maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and then I'm on call.
And you're good with that.
And I'm great. Well, I mean, because I'm getting paid to be on call and be available. So I mean, I'm working right now as I'm on call, and I'm not going to get called to work today. And tomorrow is in fact my day off where they can't call me. So I'm like, it ain't too terrible.
No,
but, I mean,
until I call you into work.
Yeah, right. But moral of the story is, don't allow yourself to get discouraged though. Like, just carrying on to what John was saying, don't allow yourself to get discouraged. And it's going to happen. You're going to feel some level of discouragement about, oh, I'm not going to get it. I've applied to 500 places. I've sent out 300 resumes. I've networked, now this, that, and the other. Sometimes people just aren't hiring when you're looking for a job, and sometimes they are. And I was lucky enough that when I applied for my job that I have now, they were looking and they needed bodies. And I was the first of 12 people hired in 2022 for just Spartanburg, not even CSX as a whole, just Spartanburg. I was the first of 12 people hired in 2022 because they were looking.
Yeah, right place, right time.
It's just sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's availability, and don't allow yourself to get discouraged. Throw everything to the wall and see what sticks.
No,
that's some good feedback from your side, man. Real quick, I want to transition to this question from FU Money here. I've rented since I traveled the world. Not sure where to settle down to end up buying versus renting. Going to miss the OHA medical structure. And that was something that I figured I was going to miss as well, right? Like BAH is huge. A lot of folks would rely on that stuff. A lot of times that, you get into some place that's a little less expensive and, maybe, you have a little bit extra money coming in, right? That you're able to pocket. If you're dual military, even better. You have a little bit more that you're bringing in. And so that was a big thing that I was encountering on my way out. We were like, I had a freaking map on my wall at work. Where am I going to go? I had between staying in California because my wife grew up here. She loves it here. All her family's here. Going to Hawaii, which we have family out there too, or going to Virginia. So we were just kind of throwing things at the wall here. Didn't know exactly where to go. We ended up, just staying in California, about a mile down the road from where I retired from. And it just worked out for us because we have, we both have jobs here now, and life is all right here. But that was a big weight on my shoulders. Like, where the heck am I going to live? Where am I going to go? And you can't really look for a job until you figure that part out, because unless it's going to be a remote job, then, you don't want to apply for a job in Virginia if you're going to be living in California. They're going to see that on your resume. Oh, this guy's across the country. Is he willing to transfer over? Some jobs pay for that whole move across the country. Some jobs don't. So I understand that it's a big weight on the shoulders, but you just have to look at different states, different things that they offer, like state taxes, exemptions, military retirement exemptions, things like that. Just look at all the states that you're maybe considering, and just kind of put them side by side and compare them, just as you would any other website, right? Like, compare what each one offers and which one best suits you. And if you're going to move somewhere where you've never been before, I wouldn't recommend buying right off the bat. I know a lot of folks do that when they're like PCSing. They don't know exactly what they're getting until they get there, and they've already bought a place before they got there. I'd probably rent for like 6 months just to see what the area is like, and maybe move from there and purchase the house from there if that's the intent. But I don't know if anybody has any other feedback on any of that, but as far as my side, yeah, I missed VAH, but after I retired, I got the retirement. The VA disability also helps. So that kind of is almost like VAH, right? I'm able to pay off the house and have that same almost comfortable lifestyle that I had before I transitioned out.
Yeah, I got to agree with you completely. Like the idea of buying blind, you know what I mean? That's basically what it boils down to. Is like, I don't know the area. I don't know if you don't know where you're going to, if you've never previously lived there, should I say. You're buying blind. You don't know the area. You don't know the school district. You don't know the housing market, how crime, you name it, right? And then the quality of the house, you're having somebody else inspect the house, and you're not seeing it in person potentially to do your due diligence. We're still renting this property right here. It's my sister-in-law's property that she moved out of after her husband passed away, and we're renting it from her with the intent to buy before the summer is over. Just got to get my credit a little bit straightened out. It's been working on it, been increasing and been building it, but we have every intent to buy. Now we knew we were coming here to South Carolina before we knew that we were going to live in this house. It was just kind of, I don't want to say good timing, because it was not good timing with the situation with my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law. But it was necessary timing, needed timing for my sister-in-law to help her out. But we knew we were coming down here. We didn't know what the housing market was going to be like, but we knew that this is where we wanted to call home. And, we had started looking, and then sister-in-law offered us this, a fair rate for rent and everything like that. And just so happens to be, a really good market, or not market, the market sucks right now. A really good neighborhood, really good community. And the timing is right for us to try to buy this from her. So that's what we're going to do. But, yeah, it's daunting, and I would not go into it if I didn't know, like you said, where I was going to be, or at the very least what you were buying into, and that goes well beyond just the house, right? Neighborhood, the schools, the community, all of that jazz. But yeah, it's a weird process, not having that security of BAH, COLA, things like that anymore. But like you were saying though too, I think it kind of sort of it's offset a little bit with, for those of us, or for those who do get, the pension or the disability, it's kind of that offset, like, oh, well, I don't have to have my paychecks dedicated to this. I'm going to dedicate, that's basically what we do. We dedicate my disability checks to the house and the utilities and all of that stuff. And then, the paychecks are going towards everything else, that we need to do and whatnot, saving up and trying to get this place bought. But I don't really have too much more. I mean, I can't elaborate better than that, but I would caution you, like you were saying though, just do your research, do your due diligence. And if you don't know the area that you're moving to, that you're going to call home, because, it's okay, well, I've got this job and I'm now going to be moving here. Like you said, I would probably, the same thing, I would probably rent.
Yeah, just kind of feel out the area a little bit before you commit.
Now, the downside is a lot of places, if you only do a 6-month lease, you're likely to pay more for the place that you're renting. If you do a year lease, or even a 2-year lease, you're likely to get a lower rate on your rent. But then there comes the issue of, oh man, I got to live in this apartment or this townhouse or whatever for 2 years. And if I break the lease, I got to pay all this money back to these people, and so on and so on and so on. So it's really, really, really kind of best guess how it's going to work out for you. But I mean, if you plan it out, like we had a 3-year plan. when we got back to, when we got out of the military and got back to the States, of, okay, we're giving ourselves about 3 years, get back, get settled, get established, get our credit built back up before we look at buying a house. And that's exactly what we told my sister-in-law. And, this coming summer is going to make 2.5 years. So we're pretty well on the mark with that. And we're a little bit ahead of schedule, and we're okay with that because, it's things have progressed at a natural, non-expedited rate, where it's like,
Right.
we're not being rushed into it. It's just, it just happened. It's happened to be that way. It happened to work out in that favor. So we gave ourselves that 3-year window, and now we're getting ready to buy before that. But, give yourselves that window, give yourselves that opportunity to feel out the market, to find what works for you, find what you need more so than just, whatever's the first thing that comes along. And then go from there. If you're going into it, in an area that's unknown to you, if you know where you're going, by all means, if you want to buy right off the rip, I can't tell you one way or another, but my advice would be, if you just wait if you can.
Yeah, and as far as the medical stuff, I mean, being a retiree myself, we just kind of jumped on TRICARE. I looked to see how much medical insurance is without TRICARE, and it is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
The amount that I'm paying yearly for TRICARE is what some folks pay monthly for their regular medical insurance. Yeah.
I had a question real quick too, and I do apologize.
No, you're good. What's up?
Kind of jumping onto that medical aspect of it. So I'm 100% PNT, right?
Yeah.
Does that, and I haven't looked into this before, because when I first got out, I wasn't 100%, but
Right.
I got it changed to 100% not long after I got out. Does that enable me to get TRICARE for life?
Ooh, good question. I have to look that up. I know you get Champ VA with with PNT. Yeah, I'm not sure about TRICARE for life. Anywhere I've seen on the website, I mean, I've been on the TRICARE website pretty extensively. I've seen like retirees, active duty. I've not seen 100% disability options on the drop-down menus.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's a good question. Something I can look up.
I'd appreciate
we
that.
Put
That'd
out
be
there.
awesome. Because I maybe I'm just ignorant to what it's saying, but I can never see anywhere where it says, like, eligibility for you, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I've not seen it myself. I guess I've not had to look into that.
Yeah.
Because I'm retired already. But yeah, definitely something we can look up and then put up on the show as well. That's an excellent question, man. I've not come across that one before.
I appreciate it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and actually along those same lines, I'm pretty sure we've run across so many questions and so many emails and so many comments over over all these platforms. But I want to say, and I think we brought it up last week or maybe a week or two ago. Maybe it was just between me and you texting, Victor. But somebody was asking about medical retirement and that process, and we didn't really touch on it too much because of the fact that neither one of us has been through that process, and we didn't have very many people that have actually been through that process. And I wanted to kind of, I don't remember exactly what the question was, but I think it was something along the lines of, like, if I'm going to be medically retired, can I then get rated for VA stuff after the fact? And I kind of just answered, like, yes, you can, absolutely. But maybe that's something you might want to touch on real quick, Brandon.
Yeah, of course, 100%. So whatever your medical rating is for the Army, right? Like you and I discussed this before, John. When I was on the podcast with you, your rating for the Army is just that. Your rating for the Army, it's whatever is eliminating you from continuing service. For me, in my situation, it was my shoulder. The Army only rated my shoulder at 20%, and you have to be 30% to attain what is known as medical retirement. Nice little air bunnies there. 20% or below is just a medical separation. It can still, it's eliminating you from service, but it's not enough to give you a pension for the rest of your life. That kind of thing. And they're only going to look at that one thing that's eliminating you from service. If you jacked up your back and you had to have multiple spinal fusions, the Army is only looking at your back. If you jacked up your knee, they're only looking at your knee, that kind of thing. The VA is going to take that whole picture. And that's why when you're going through the med process, you go to all of those screenings. You go to you go to a therapist, and he or she will evaluate, whether or not you have PTSD or anxiety or any of those other kind of mental I don't want to say disorders because it's not a disorder, but that trauma that you would get. And they make you go to a doctor and they check your respiratory any kind of respiratory issues. They check if you got sleep apnea. They check and see if you've jacked up your knees or your feet or your hands or your back or your neck or whatever, and they do a whole rundown. And then they get that every little bit. Okay, he's got PTSD, he's got anxiety, he's got depression, he has suicidal thoughts and ideations. Not saying me or anybody, but he's got this wrong with his knees because he jumped out of planes for 25 years. He's got this wrong with his back because he was a grunt and he was taking an 80-pound rucksack with a mortar base plate and rucking that for 13 Ks every day. That kind of stuff. They're going to factor in all of those little things, and that'll give you your full long for anybody who's got over 5 years in the military. You're probably going to have a really long disability, your total disability breakdown. And it'll give you the individual breakdowns based off of each individual item, and then it'll give you your total disability rating based off of all of those. And so everything is rated at 10% increments, the same way it is in the military. Same for the Army or the Navy or the Marines or whatever. It's always 10% increments. Same thing with the VA, but you can go as little as 10%. All the way up to 100%, and then beyond 100%, you can get 100% P&T, permanent and total. And then so whatever it is that you get out with, I personally got out with 90. You can then petition the VA. You can submit new claims at any point for anything that is legitimately service connected, whether it be training or day-to-day life or even deployments and things that you've encountered or happened to you on deployments or even in training, and submit new claims to have your disability rating increased. I'll let you know now, the VA can be extremely slow, if you hadn't already guessed, extremely slow to get back to you with any response one way or another. And it's going to be one of two responses. Your claim is approved or your claim is denied. That's it. No in between, no gray area. And I will tell you that there is an easier way, and John and I have spoken about this before. The way that I went about it, I went through a veterans advocacy group called Veterans Guardian. And I'm not trying to promote them. I'm not a spokesperson or paid in any way for them. I just truly believe in what they do. You go to them with what you feel is wrong with you. I hope I didn't phrase that badly for anybody, because there's nothing wrong with you, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You go to them with what's ailing you, with what's hurting you, with what's affecting you. And you say, hey, this is what the VA rated me as. I think I should be getting more. I need more. What have you, whatever the situation is, right? I want to try to get my disability rating increased. They'll send you an intake packet where you tell them everything that's wrong, everything that's affecting you, everything that hurts, everything that you think or feel, and then they'll send that up, and they'll say, okay, based off of everything we see and based off of the paperwork that you send to them, you send them your DD-214, you send them your disability breakdown from the VA, from the Army. And then they'll come back to you and say, they'll come back to you and say, okay, based off of everything you've submitted to us, we see that the best way forward to get your disability increased is to go at it trying to increase this thing. It might be a mental, disorder, for lack of a better word. It might be that your back is messed up and you didn't get a very good rating for your back, or, and it's still affecting you badly and you didn't get it taken care of based off of surgery or therapy or what have you. And then you have the ability though too to say, no, I don't want to go that route. I would rather try to get it increased based off of this. And then they will link you up with a doctor that they hire to evaluate you, whether it be a therapist or a orthopedic or what have you. They'll take down everything. They'll put it into nice fancy doctor talk, send that to you, let you review it. And if you sign off on it, you mail it yourself in the envelope they provide to the VA Claim Center in Wisconsin. And it cuts out the middleman of the VA having to try to schedule you and taking forever to schedule you an appointment with one of the VA doctors. Because that's the biggest long waiting period, is trying to even get an appointment with a VA doctor to assess your claim, to assess your injury, to assess your ailment, to see if you're even valid for an increase. So they cut out the middleman, and then the VA will get back to you, and however long it takes for them to process and review through it, and then they'll say one of two answers: approved or denied. Once again. And then you'll get, if it's approved, you'll get paid to the date that your claim was submitted. So the day they received your claim packet, you'll get backdated to that date. So if it takes 6 months from March 25th or February 25th, then you'll get backdated all the way to February 25th. The great thing about a group like Veterans Guardian is, and I've mentioned this before, they don't get paid unless your claim is increased. So again, I can't preface this enough. I do not work for them. I make nothing. I gain nothing from promoting them. I truly, honest to God, believe in what they do. And it worked for me. It can work for anybody else. And if you're trying to go that route where you've already gotten out of the military and you've already got your VA disability claim, whether it be 20, 50, 90, whatever percent, you're trying to get it increased, you have nothing to lose by not trying. It goes back to that old adage: the answer is always no if you don't ask the question.
That's right. That's excellent, man. It's like a one-stop shop there, huh? They do it.
Right?
They do it all for you, and it gives them an incentive to work their butt off to get you what you need, because then they won't get paid.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
And so I am an advocate for that advocate group. I really, honest to God, am, and I've turned several people onto them and helped them get there. And legitimately 3 people that I personally know have gotten their claims increased by going through Veterans Guardian after I referred them. Again, not a paid spokesperson. I gain nothing from it. I'm trying to give people information so that you too can, and research it, 100% research it. Don't just go off of face value. Don't go off of my word. Research it to try and improve your situation if you can. That's enough. Absolutely. Thank you.
Let me see what's going on here in the chat here. Anyone ever say it's not fair that you get residual checks from the government at such a young age? As far as like what retirement checks, I've not encountered anything like that before. I don't really talk about it. I got my Marine Corps little flag in my yard, but nobody ever asked me any questions. I just go around living my life. But then again, I don't really talk about it. So, I mean, if people want to know, then I'll tell them, hey, look, I did my time. I've deployed. I've the recruiting office was open to everybody. And I just happened to walk in there and volunteer for this and did 20 years of this. If they for some reason did not want to walk into that recruiting office, same as I did, then hey, that's on them. But I did that. I did my time, and everybody knows that you get a pension after 20 years in the military, and it is what it is, man. I think I earned it. I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah, well, thank you. Let's see what else we got here. So a lot of this stuff with the whole transition piece, I think what I was struggling with was finding a purpose, right? So you the whole time you're in the military, you have a battle rhythm, you have a mission, right? The mission is to support your unit, whatever the bigger picture is, up the chain of command, right? And you have a daily battle rhythm. You go in, you may, whatever, check your email or check your tools, or whatever it might be, clean your weapon, etc., whatever your daily battle rhythm is. Once you leave that, that is where there's an emptiness, there's a void in your life. And that's when the mental piece kind of hit me, at least. When I was on terminal leave, my intent was, you take some time off. And after 2 weeks, I was getting antsy. I was like, all right, I got to figure out what to do with my hands now, because I just can't sit around anymore. And I was going like downtown, I was cruising around, but I just couldn't do that for a prolonged period of time. And that's when I started like looking deeper into like more jobs and seeing what kind of careers I can get into. I felt like I needed to fill that void because I was indeed missing a purpose in life. And I think that's a big thing with the mental piece that a lot of veterans, like where it hits them, is you need to have a purpose. You need to be doing something. There has to be some kind of meaning in your life for you to feel like you have a purpose, like you need to feel fulfilled. And, if that means being around other veterans, that means, networking, if that means getting into another career, I couldn't go and live on, as much as people talk about it, hey, life would be great. I would just live on this island all day. That'd be cool, but I got to do something on there. I can't just be like Castaway, freaking sipping coconut water and shit all day. I got to do something else, so big void. I mean, I'll pose that question to you, gentlemen. What did you all feel like that? Like when you got out, that you needed that purpose in life in order to save your mental health?
John?
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sitting on an island sipping coconut water every god. I think
all
it's
right.
great.
Aside from John. Yeah.
No,
So-
I mean the void. Yeah, let me be an adult for a second. The void for me was really what I was talking about earlier, the job thing, like searching for a job, putting pressure on myself to try to find a job because I had to try to be engaged in something. And at the same time, I was like trying to focus on my hobbies, trying to focus on things I wanted to do. I've always been somebody who's done a lot of volunteer time, and volunteer time will save your butt. Like seriously, if you have absolutely nothing to do, if you can't find a job, if you're looking and it's hard and you're struggling, you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, like go find the place where you would really, really, really love to work and just go volunteer there. I mean, it does a couple things, right? But it gets you in front of the people that you want to be in front of anyway. And of course, yeah, you're giving them your time, but what are you losing from it? Because you can go there and gain skills, you can gain friendships, you can network with people, you can expand, you can figure out if it's actually something that you want to do, or if it's something that you're looking at from the outside and saying, oh, that's really cool, and I think I'd like to do that. And then you get in there and you're like, ugh, this is kind of eh. So yeah, volunteer. That's what I've been doing. I've been volunteering. Oh yeah, low commitment, and just really, it's just a matter of giving up a little bit of your time. And you don't have to give up like 40 hours a week. You can go whenever you want. You're a volunteer. You're not on the clock.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I did pretty much the same thing you did, Vic. I took a couple of weeks where I was like, okay, I'm going to relax, try to decompress a little bit, try to, be with the family. Cause at the time when I got out, or when I started my permissive TDY, my terminal leave, I was stationed in Germany and my family was still over here. So, I always, I'm a very, very, very family oriented guy. And my time in Germany was really, really, really difficult because my family was still over here. For various reasons, they weren't able to come over. It wasn't a matter of any kind of military paperwork, anything like that. It was civilian stuff. They weren't able to come over with me, and then with COVID and all that stuff, it made it really, really, really hard to see family and be involved. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a few weeks. I'm going to spend time with my wife and my kids. I'm going to visit family and friends I haven't seen much or any of in my.
Oh, something happened. Still good with the audio?
Yeah, I'm good on my side with the audio. Maybe Brandon dropped off. That's no big deal.
Brandon. All right. Well, we'll come back to Brandon once he gets back online. But great question by FU Money here. Where's your esprit de corps in civilian stateside, since he's been overseas for 19 years? 19 years. Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, a church group, gym group. So I'll tell you from my experience, gym groups, yeah, they're great. I did a lot of volunteer, like John said, did a lot of volunteering with my community. I like coaching Little League baseball with my kids. So sure enough, the community I live in has some military around here. So, one of the other coaches I was coaching with was a Navy retiree. So we just, we hit it off pretty well. But yeah, just once you come stateside, start looking, or you can even look it up on Facebook, these veteran beer clubs or veteran organizations, these, they meet up at, I don't want to promote, drinking, but they meet up at these bars and stuff, and they just hang out, right? That's what it is. They hang out. If you want to be around like-minded folks and kind of ease yourself into that whole transition, that's probably the best way I say that I can think of you doing it. For me, I kind of retired out of retired in the same area where I'm living now. So I kind of know the folks around here. I worked with a lot of civilians who were prior military, so I still talk to a lot of them to this day. Some of my best friends are still working on the base down the street. So, and I chose to remain near a military base for the sole fact that the job output, the job outlook is a lot better that way for me. I can kind of get my foot in the door with like GS positions if I want to. The drive is not that bad. I'm near a hospital, both VA and military hospital, if I need anything. So it was just a lot easier for me. That life choice was a lot easier for me, just staying in place here near a military base. I mean, folks, your mileage may vary, your experience may vary with that. I know some folks who moved out in like completely non-military areas, and that was their choice. I mean, there's not a lot going on for them out there, except for they chose a job out there. But you just have to look at what's best for you, your quality of life, where you want to live. Do you want to be near a military base, around other military folks? And FU Money, it seems like you want that experience, right? To come back to the States and possibly be around like-minded folks, like in the military and things like that. So you may want to look at places near a military installation where you can easily find a job, or more easily find a job, and have that sense of camaraderie, not completely remove yourself from that. So it might be something that you want to look into.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, definitely you can look online and find groups and organizations and that revolve around things that you're interested in, right? So if you're interested in model rocketry, or if you're interested in leather working, or if you're interested in car stuff, like myself and Victor are both big car guys, right? So he does a lot of car stuff, I do a lot of car stuff, and I'm sure you're probably on a ton of forums looking for wiring harnesses and all kinds of different weird tools and parts and stuff that you need for the car to do restoration stuff or fix stuff. That's where I spend a lot of my time as well, and that's the communities that I engage with and revolve around. And they have Cars and Coffee, and they have like the SCCA has little racing organizations that you can do on the weekends and take your car out and just push it out on a tarmac and get some drive out of it. But things like that revolve around things that you actually enjoy doing. There's a group for every single thing. If you're into yoga, if you're into a specific kind of yoga, like hot yoga, like yoga in a sauna, like they have specific groups for every single thing you can possibly imagine. So just get involved with those groups online. And then once you get back stateside, if you do come back stateside, and just meet up with them, link up with them, find them in your area, because they're going to be there, especially if you move to a bigger metropolitan area. It seems like maybe that might be where you want to go. And then the other thing is, if you don't want to come back to the States, like that's an option too. You can get out and stay there. I did the first tour in the Army after my first reenlistment, got out, stayed in Europe for 7 years, stayed in the reserves, and then came back on active duty AGR stateside. So, you know, and now I'm back in Europe. So,
yeah. And then, you know, his other question here is whenever he go on leave, and let me put that up on the screen here.
Mhm.
Whenever he go back on leave, he couldn't wait to get back to the high stress level. I think that has to do with like you're used to that battle rhythm, right? And I
up-tempo.
think, yeah, the up tempo, exactly. So it's I had the same thing, right? I could not go on leave for more than 2 weeks without wanting to get back to, you know, the thick of it and just, lack of a better term, get back in the shit, right?
Mhm.
It was tough for me, and that's why I was like, after 2 weeks I'm being on terminal leave, I was like, man, I got to do something. I got to do something with my life, with my hands. I got to get into something else. You know, I had to take a breather. I had to take a step back and realize, you know, it's that's part of the transition. You know, it's the mission is always going to happen. The mission's always going to be there. The green machine, like they say, is always going to be working. I knew when it was time for me to go, because I just felt like, you know, I've got my 20 years. I've got my I want to be young enough to start something new if I want to, you know. So the stress level was somewhat high in my position, in my job, because I was taking on a lot. You know, I was a director at that point, and it was a lot, and I just knew that I didn't want to keep that up for long term, because it was going to burn me out. And I found myself taking more and more leave, more often than I used to. So after a while, you know, I guess I wanted to get back into the stress level stuff, but then I found this new job where it's like, I'm not a supervisor at this new job, and I'm okay with that. After like realizing that how much my quality of life has improved because I'm away from that stress level, but I'm still in a career that I enjoy. I'm still around like-minded folks. I still work with the military and uniformed and civilians. You know, my quality of life has improved so much. I actually look younger than I did last year, you know, so my hair's not growing back, but I look younger, I think. You know, I'm looking like I'm going to start looking like Brandon here. My hair is growing down here, but not up here.
Looking fresh.
A little skinny up top. No, but yeah,
So just
it's the quality of life. What's that?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my quality of life has significantly improved since I got out of that stressful situation, that stressful lifestyle from constant work. Maybe, you know, I don't know if you're seeking that stress. I wouldn't seek it anymore after doing so much time. I knew it was time for a change, and I'm happy I made that change.
Yeah, and it's almost getting a job where you're not in charge and you're not like managing people and doing all that stuff. Contractor jobs usually, or those kind of jobs.
Right.
It's like
Right.
it's like that step between being on active duty still and then the volunteer thing that we talked about a few minutes ago. It's like volunteer, you can come and go as you please because you're not on the clock. In a contract position, it's just a step up from volunteer work. Like you're getting paid, you're on the clock, but you can cut it off at 4:30 and leave and go home. Usually, in most cases.
Yeah. They don't approve my overtime, so the second that time hits, I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. I'm watching everybody else kind of stay behind, you know, continue to work. I'm not getting paid overtime, so, you know,
Nope.
take my stuff home. Nope.
So we're sitting at 1 hour and 20 minutes, I guess. And we do have Brandon on speaker. Well, we've got him on the hold pattern right now. He's listening to elevator music in the background as we speak. So we can bring him back up. But yeah, definitely. As long as you want to go, I mean, we can go forever. It's fine with me. I don't care. But
yeah, we'll go for a few more.
Just giving you a time hack to let you know what's going on.
Hey, fellas.
Welcome back.
Back again.
Sorry about that. I had a phone call.
TikTok generation, man.
They tried calling me to work, but I'm not first out. I'm lower down on the board, but there's no engineers available. I'm on the conductor side because I'm not marked up as an engineer, even though I'm qualified. They have no engineers available today for Spartanburg, and they tried calling me, but I don't have to take the call because I'm not first out.
It feels good having that. It feels good, right? Being in that position where you can make that choice.
It's glorious. I was listening to while I was in the hold pattern right there too.
Yeah.
You know, I agree completely about like when I was in and I was on leave. I know whether leave was only a week or it was 2 or even after like like the end of a deployment leave where you get like a whole month, right?
That's right.
Start to get really antsy. Like I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like oh man, like what do I do with my hands? What like
That's right.
and like it's literal definition of embrace the suck, right? Like you've embraced it and you're so used to it, you're so conditioned to it that you're like, man, when can I get back to it? What can I be doing? What should I be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
it's hard to turn that off. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of it. And I saw a comment from FU Money a moment ago. What was it? Said he's got all the tools he's learned and applied to civilian sector, some form, some way. No matter how much rank one occurs, it's no more managing 1,000 multiple individuals starting back over. I saw that and I was just like, damn, truth, 100% truth, and it's starting back over. You got a year left. FU Money, you got a year left until you're starting all the way back over. And like John was saying, you're the new guy, you're the bottom. But there's one benefit you do have to that, right? You're used to being the new guy in some aspect over the course of 3, 5, 7, 12, 20 years. Even if you've got rank on your chest or on your lapels, you're still going to PCS somewhere and be the new guy all over again. That yeah, you may have the rank and you're not private or airman or seaman or whatever, but you're still the new guy in the eyes of, well, okay, we don't care that you're an NCO. We don't know anything about you, and we have to learn to trust you and verify that you're going to be any kind of good for us here in this spot, So I mean, it's all you're used to starting over, and you just got to take that in terms of, okay, well, I'm starting over now, and I'm used to being the new guy in locations, and I'm used to figuring out where things are at and how things are done. But now, unfortunately, you get to start over without any of the rank or authority or responsibility, right? That'll be the harder part, I think, maybe for some, but it's easier than you think it is to be like, okay, it's a lot less, generally it's a lot less ridiculous, all the things that you have to manage if you're stepping into a managerial position in the civilian sector, because you're not responsible for everybody. You're not responsible for your team or your department's day-to-day, minute-by-minute lives, right? You don't control what they do and how they do it when they're off the clock, right? You're only focused on, okay, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. This is what we're doing. This is what we're accomplishing, and we're task-oriented. And I don't have to be, I don't have to be going to your house. I don't have to be going to your apartment, checking to make sure that you're living a certain way. So it's a little bit less ridiculous, the requirements of you. So I think in that regard, it might be a little bit easier for you to, to kind of step back or fall back into whatever role that you end up going to,
Yeah, I think you need to embrace the transition, FU Money, because it seems rough right now, but once you're on the back end, it's not that bad. I was like terrified, same as most other folks, and things actually just seemed to work out. Everything started kind of getting in place. I was in Okinawa for some time back in the day. You know, Okinawa was a beautiful place, but I understand island fever, right? It's I was also in Hawaii. A lot of folks talk about island fever. I did not have that. It was great for me. But you know, just as Brandon was saying, with the whole, you know, starting in a civilian position, the way I looked at it was I get to learn something new, right? Even if it's starting from the bottom, like I have the desire, I have the drive to excel, you know, coming from the military, knowing how, you know, promotions work and how, you know, you adapt and overcome to different situations. I had that desire to start at an entry level if I needed to, and then work my way up as fast as possible, as fast as I wanted to, because I had the desire, the drive, and the want to learn something new. Lucky enough that, you know, the position I'm in right now, I didn't have to start from the bottom, but there's always that upward outlook that I have because I want to be in a management position at some point in time, right? But yeah, it's just embrace it, man. You get to learn something new, maybe something outside of your realm that you've been doing in the military. I did not want to do what I was doing in the military, so I looked outside of that. And sure enough, you know, I'm learning things. Navy speak is not easy. There's a lot of acronyms, things I never used in the Marine Corps that, you know, they're throwing at me. And I'm like, I'm looking like a dumbass, you know, just like, what? You know, I have an Excel document just full of acronyms and I'm constantly looking at that crap on my computer. And, but I'm learning. That's the thing. And they're noticing that this dude wants to learn. He wants to know what's going on. And maybe they promote me at some point in time. So just embrace that, man. Just embrace it.
Yeah. Like, for lack of a better word, full send.
Yeah.
You know, dive in head first. Don't be afraid to, you know, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or ask questions. That's the biggest one. When I started out, you know, being on the railroad, the one thing that everyone who has been around this for a minute would always say is they hate it when new guys respond with when they ask a question, or they're not so much asking a question, but like giving you advice, like, hey, when this happens, do this and this and this and this and this. A lot of people will say, and not meaning to, and I've been guilty of this in the past too, will say, okay, yeah, I know, I got it. Get I know out of your vocabulary. Get that out of your vocabulary. Go into it and be fully exposed and fully honest that you don't know, and that you're willing to learn, and you're willing to accept the fact that people are going to look at you and be like, you know, like, I'm new in my career comparatively to just about everybody that I work with out of my terminal, right? But I'm not a young guy like some of the guys they hired on these past 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I'm almost 40. You got guys who are joining the railroad who are 19 years old, you know, first real career outside of high school, first, you know, and like, this is what they want to do. And hey, good on you. But I'm almost 40 and I'm starting over, and people are like, you know, you don't know this yet? And like, well, no, because I haven't been doing this forever yet. You know, I realize I look like a guy who might have been around around the block and on the rails for a lifetime, but I haven't. I'm new to this just as that kid over there is. But I'm willing to allow myself to be, you know, exposed as the guy who doesn't know, in order to learn, in order to get that information, and then, you know, and be able to pass it on or use it, and, you know, not hurt or kill anybody or destroy, you know, an entire town or, you know, whatever. But I figured that one out really quick. Like, okay, I don't know. Don't say that I know. Don't pretend I know. Don't respond as if I know. When somebody says this and this and this, you can respond back with, you know, what you were read in the book, or what you were already previously told, or you can get elaboration on it. Of course, obviously, get elaboration. Like, well, okay, in the event of this, what do I do? Would I do this and this and this? And that's when, you know, that's when you start to build that rapport. It's like, okay, this kid is listening, or this guy is listening. to what I say, and he's responding back, and he's asking questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. No matter how dumb you may think it is, ask questions. Lay yourself out there to embrace every bit of it and get all the information you can and learn from the people who are there to supervise and or teach you. And you'll find that success will come a whole lot quicker than you think it will, being that new guy, being that guy who's starting over. And you'll quickly be the guy who's like, okay, I'm now not the new guy anymore. I've actually got a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience, and I can pass it on. It goes pretty quick, just like the military does, honestly. Like, you don't have to be in the military for 20 years to know how to do what you got to do in the military, to know your job, to be a master of it. You can be a subject matter expert in your MOS in 3 years if you really listen and you really take it all in. It's no different in the civilian sector.
Yeah, that's some good input, man. So the one big thing that I did on the way out, because I didn't know what I wanted to get into, was I was kind of scrambling to learn a ton of stuff. Like, I reached out to the warehouse guys, the master sergeant that worked out there down the road. And I'm like, hey, look, I think I need to get my forklift certification because maybe I want to drive a forklift for Walmart or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't know what I want to do yet. So he's like, yeah, come on, let's put in the hours, etc. I went and got my OSHA certification. You know, I was kind of going around different places because I didn't know which peg I wanted to fill. You know, and at the end, I'm actually not doing any of those things. You know, I have the certs, but I'm not doing any of those things. You know, so just kind of expand the horizons a little bit and just figure out, maybe I want to go in this direction, maybe I want to go in that direction, see what fits, try new things out, and just understand that, you know, that's the way life is, man. As you get out, maybe you get into something else completely different. Maybe you get into something that you've been doing in the past.
And I want to address FU Money real quick, just since, you know, he's the guy that's driving this show right now. It's your show. It's all about you, really, seriously. Thank you for being here, first of all. As I'm going through your questions and your comments in the chat, and as we're talking about it and going over it, I wanted to just throw it out there if you haven't ever thought about it, because it sounds like you're the kind of person that wants to stay in the mix of things and has to be engaged and has to be, you know, doing something and feel like you have a purpose and feel like you're fulfilling that purpose. You may take a look at the State Department, and if you want, you could reach out to me through the internet or through the Facebooks or wherever you can find me and get a hold of me, or just send a message in the chat in the YouTube how I can get a hold of you. But if you're interested in continuing to do service-like stuff with the government and you still want to travel the world and see some interesting places, they basically go to like a lot of the embassy locations around the world, and they do a lot of State Department stuff, whatever that happens to be. And I'm sure it requires clearances, and you've got an intel background, so you probably would be a great fit for that organization. But they have like this quick training program. It's a few months or whatever, and then they throw you in the mix, and then they send you to these locations, basically like duty locations for the military, but you're just in a civilian status doing that kind of stuff. And it's a quick ramp up to get into it. So if that's something you're interested in, and it sounds like it would be a decent fit, at least from my, I mean, you know, I don't know you, I haven't talked to you personally, but if you wanted to come and hit me up offline or whatever, I can link you up with some people that could potentially at least give you an explanation, give you some ideas about that particular path. That might be something that you could definitely think about doing a year from now. It sounds like a really great job, a great gig, and depending on if you've got wife and kids or not, if you're still single, it really gives you the opportunity to do those military things without being beholden to all those military structures and formations and the nonsense that we have to deal with as military people. So throwing that out there.
Awesome.
Well, what do you think, gentlemen? Hour and a half? You want to call it?
Yeah, I think it's been productive, man. I really have enjoyed the talk here, and especially the folks, you know, watching. And, feel free to chime in. We're doing it every Sunday, right? Right, John?
Yep, that's right. Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. So yeah, feel free to chime in and ask any questions you may have. We'll explore it, and if we don't have an answer, I got no issues doing the research, right? And I'm sure John is in the same boat. We're ready to assist however we can. Very productive. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on as well and sharing.
Thanks for having me, guys. Seriously.
Yeah, man. If you ever want to come back on, I enjoy having you online because you're engaging and you know how to use a microphone and a camera. So that's an added bonus.
And I'm not afraid to admit that, and I'm not saying you gentlemen are either. I'm not afraid to admit that, I don't have all the answers, but I'm figuring it out as I go. And that's the best anybody can hope to do, I think.
That's right.
Dude, that's in life. That's in, parenting. That's in a lot of things, man. A lot of us don't have the answers, and we just figure it out. Yeah, we just figure it out. People are like, "Hey, man, how'd you get this information?" Dude, I don't know. I read about it. I asked questions about it. And then you just figure things out, right?
Networking and research. Those are your two best friends for anything you could hope to figure out and learn.
That's it. Like they say, Gunny Google is your best friend. Yeah.
Facts. Heck yeah. Well, hey, thank you again, guys. It's awesome. John, it's great talking to you again. It's been a while. Glad you're doing good.
Yeah, man.
Vic, I haven't formally met you before. Nice meeting you.
You as well, man.
And I'll definitely have to hop back on here again sometime. And I'm available for questions and concerns and whatnot that you may have. If for anybody who may or may not be watching, who, like John mentioned, who's getting out the medical way. I know that John and Vic don't have, as much history or background with the medical aspect side of it and whatnot as others do. And they had a long, full, very, very, very good careers, and I'm very happy for them. And I'm, no shade or anything like that of any kind, but it's okay, like they said, to reach out and get the information that, somebody else may have. And I think that's kind of where I come in. I can throw that perspective that some people just don't have to, or don't have to, but have not personally experienced themselves. So, I mean, I can appeal to that 1%, that 2% of people who is not getting out, when their hard target, of 20 years is, oh man, I'm getting out at 15 out of medical, and what do I do? So I think that's where my niche is right there, is I can help with that regard, because I went through it myself, and it's daunting and it's scary as all get out. But again, I'm not the smartest apple in the bunch. I'm not the best person to go at anything, but if I can figure it out, anybody can.
Well said.
Yeah, and
if I can do it, I promise you can too. You just gotta use your tools available to you. That's the last thing I'll say. Use the tools that are available to you. Research, network, and go at it full send. Go at it like you got nothing left to lose. So again, I thank you, gentlemen. I'll stop babbling. I'll stop wasting time, and thank you. Seriously.
No, you're all good. You're all good. And real quick, John, I'll throw it out there myself. If anybody wants to connect with me, I mean, you got my name on there on the screen on LinkedIn. My network is your network, and just connect with me, and we'll get, if you're looking for a job or anything like that, a new career, just folks to know on your way out of the military. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. Be happy to introduce you to some people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had Brandon's TikTok up there. If you're looking for Brandon, he's out on TikTok. You can find him, Brandon Fett 19 _, and then the rest should probably populate on its own.
And then on Facebook, it's just Brandon Alborg.
Right.
Yep. So.
Yeah, and you can find us. And I don't know if you're in the military retirement group or not yet, the other Facebook group, but if you're not, the link's on the screen. You can go back and check it out on the. That's where we pull a lot of questions, and we're kind of like blending everything together and joining forces and forming Voltron here, forming the military retirement and transition Voltron.
And you say I'm a
nerd. You are a nerd. You're the one with the lightsabers sitting next to you on the couch.
Is that what it is?
Oh yeah.
I was wondering what that was.
He's
Okay, all right.
the ultimate Star Wars nerd.
There you go.
I'm in my nerd room right now, as a matter
Oh
of
yeah.
fact. Yes.
Is that right?
But yeah, just to throw a couple links up there real quick, and I don't want to, toot our own horn or nothing like that. We're just moving on. I do want to say one thing though. Thank you to everybody out there in the internet, everybody who's watched, everybody who's paid attention, everybody who's checked out the podcast, checked out the videos, liked and subscribed. We did hit the 300 subscriber mark today on YouTube. So pop some champagne and do some tip drills. Because that's a good milestone to hit for
Yes,
me. At
sir.
least I'm happy about it. If you want to connect with us and get in on the discussions, you can go to Facebook, to the Military Retirement Group on Facebook. If you need to reach out and blow up Victor's email, you can hit the greenlogbook@gmail.com. You can also see the links up there at the top in the banner if you're looking for where we are on YouTube or on Facebook. And one small quick shout out to Reads Across America Radio. That's where you can actually find the podcast online. They are a supporter of our channel, just by virtue of giving us airtime on their radio network. So we want to thank them, and also thank you for listening in, for paying attention, for sticking with us. And thank you very much, FU Money, for hanging out with us for this duration of this thing. We appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right,
All right,
gents.
gentlemen.
It was great.
Yeah. Till next time. Knees of the breeze.
Until next time.
See you, boys.
Bye.
All right, see you. What's this guy write on here?